Hello, let's paint some griffins. There are 4 of them in this video, so I'll be adding the timestamps to the description below. While I tend to draw a lot of portraits, scenery and animals, I sometimes just want to paint something really cute. And that's how the series started. I wanted to make some cute animals, but fictional ones, and I decided to go for the griffins, because they're cute. Griffins are mythological creatures which are a mix of a lion and an eagle. They have the head, front legs and wings of an eagle and the back body of a lion. But I wanted to mix things up, so I made a series of different birds and different big cats just to see what I would get. Of course, I know I'm not the first person to do this, nor am I the last. The first griffin is a mix of a barn owl and a snow leopard, 2 animals I really enjoy painting. To add a bit of scale to the image, I put the griffin in a tree. And by the looks of it, this one might be the size of a 5-year-old perhaps, which is a lot smaller than what I would have imagined from the myths and fantastical renderings I've seen. But that's the fun of making your own griffin. You can make them as big or as small as you want. For these first 2 images, I'm also trying out some brand new foliage brushes that I bought. I find painting background scenery can sometimes be really tedious, so finding brushes and base shapes that I can reuse can be a great time saver. And that's especially if the scenery isn't the star of the show. Did I use references for these griffins? Yes I did. As griffins are imaginary, I can't follow one image in particular because they simply aren't real. But there are many different ways of using references. Sometimes it's to get the pose right, and other times it's for likeness, but it can even be used for compositional ideas. For this image in particular, I looked at poses of domestic and big cats stretching because I needed to make that pose look believable. And for some of the others, I looked at references of the 2 animals that I was combining because I wasn't as familiar with them as I was with some of the others. The second griffin is a mix of a great horned owl and a tiger. Why? Well, because I like both of these animals, and I especially like the little horns of the owl because they look a bit like ears, which I thought would make a good addition to a griffin. Again, I'm playing with scale here, and judging by the height of the grass, this griffin is no bigger than a mouse. The third griffin is a mix of a puffin and a black panther. I chose to go with a black panther as I thought it would blend nicely with the black plumage of the puffin. Fun fact about black panthers: they aren't actually a species of big cats. In fact, black panthers are usually leopards or jaguars with melanism, which means that they have an increased development of black pigment in their fur or skin. The name panther is derived from the genus Panthera, which includes leopards, jaguars, lions, tigers, and snow leopards. For these final 2 griffins, I'm changing up the scenery a bit. Instead of adding random foliage and trees, I went for scenery which is closer to where we find some of the animals. In the case of the black panther and puffin, I went for the cliffside with a view of, well, the sky because the ocean is a little bit too far down to be seen, but that's kind of where you would find puffins. And the final griffin, I went for the natural habitat of both the bird and the big cat. The final griffin is a mix of a secretary bird and a cheetah. While I might have painted cheetahs several times, I've actually never painted a secretary bird. I thought these 2 animals would work really well together as the secretary bird is tall and lean, and that would work really well with the leanest of the big cats. One thing I was trying to do in this image was to get the gait of the bird right, as I thought the griffin would inherit that way of walking with those long thin legs and all. so a lot of time went into looking at references, both of the bird walking and the bird itself, to get the likeness right. You might notice that this griffin has a slightly more realistic style than the other three. That's because I aimed to make the first three a bit thick and chunky because that makes them really cute. But that style wouldn't make any sense with my choice of birding big cat for this last griffin, as they're both so tall and lean. Making them short and stumpy would remove their recognisable traits, so changing up the style was the right choice. I'm curious to know which of these griffins is your favourite, and which bird and cat would you combine to create a new type of griffin? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. Check out my YouTube channel for more process videos, and for more of my art, check out my social media accounts.